In my opinion, and something you're completely free to disagree with, is that I think songs can't get sequels in the sense that movies or games can. Other media can lay foundations that sequels can build upon, can deviate from, and can become objectively better than, thanks to those resulting changes. Whereas any song deemed good enough to justify a sequel has already established a successful combination of its elements that people already know and love it for. An evolutionary dead end, if you will, where any small changes to it will detract from its appeal, and any large changes made to it may as well be enough to get it rebranded as a new thing entirely. I even disliked the concept of remixing a song that I already liked. I should see remixes as an opportunity to increase the replayability of a song that I enjoy listening to, or as a way of finding other artists I might appreciate, or to broaden my horizons into other genres by having them borrow from the ones I already like. These remixes might even be what I hear first, in which case I owe them for introducing me to the original in the first place. And nobody's forcing me to listen to these remixes. On paper, they can only be a good thing. But I couldn't see them as that. I hated remixes for even existing. If they remain similar enough to the original, then what's the point in them? They're just trying to piggyback off the success and hard work of the original. But if a remix changes stuff too much, then it's being unfaithful to the original. How dare it share its name? And so on. Welcome to the contrary mind of 2 Clicks Philip. And as a true hypocrite, I've even gone and made sequels and remixes to songs I've already made. And I'll even insist that some of these are better. In terms of names, only one of my songs has been named a sequel, and that's Jimmy 2, the second song that I ever made. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, so I just stuck to the first one's instruments and beat and messed about with the structure until I liked it more. But actually I'm up to about V7 of that song now, using the Jimmy name whenever I make a song with a disagreeable sounding instrument, but with an irritatingly catchy tune. Underpass was a song based around a chorus that I had made, which somebody I showed it to early on suggested I should change the instrument of it, which I regretted doing and later on remade the song again in the way I had originally intended. Is that a sequel or a prequel? I don't regard any of those efforts as being real sequels to a song. They all have their own reasons for existing and deviate enough from the originals that they're no longer the same songs anymore. But then we get to Atomic Amnesia, I still do. A song that I have shamefully remixed and reversed and done all sorts of unspeakable acts to. And I have no excuse for this behaviour, other than that I did it because I wanted to. Atomic Amnesia MMX, a song I made in 2011, was made because I wanted to challenge myself to make a sequel to one of my songs. Having such strong opinions about remixes, I wanted to understand what it was like to work on one for myself, and to see if I could break the chain. I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to do with this song when I embarked upon it, but that's common for me because I never know what I want until I hear it. But I quickly established that there had to be some recognisable segments in order for this remixed sequel thing to work as intended, and to anchor it to the original premise without having it float off and become something entirely unrecognisable. So I chose to keep the main chorus the same, but that everything else was free real estate for me to change as I pleased. And I learned something important from Atomic Amnesia MMX. I discovered that you don't improve a song, you change it. You can get a bit that you like, and you can add something you like to it, but it doesn't mean it's better, only different. When a music project has gone on for long enough, it's common for me to listen back to an older one and to prefer some bits about that version instead. It's a dangerous situation to be in. You need to learn when's best to call it a day on a project, when to release the song as is, and to consider any further changes you make to it as being the start of a new project. Otherwise you end up going around in circles and have nothing to show for it. I learned with Atomic Amnesia MMX that when I did deviate from the original, it was best to greatly change it in order to avoid direct comparisons. With hindsight, making minor changes to existing content can often detract from it in unforeseen ways. In Atomic Amnesia's case, the key to its success was its simplicity, and the more I tried to add to it, the more I took away. There are bits of MMX that I loved, there are bits from the original that I disliked. But oddly, when I finished MMX and compared it to the original, I couldn't decide which version of it I preferred. And now, all these years later, I still can't. They're both good for different reasons, which should be enough of a reason for them to coexist. So I'm pleased I did that project. Atomic Amnesia MMX broadened my mind, showed that remixes could be a good thing, and that an established song perhaps isn't as fixed in place as I thought it was. Previously I saw remixing a song as being a lazy thing to do, but I found it a great deal harder than working on a new one. Atomic Amnesia, particularly the original version, has become one of my most popular songs. thanks to its inclusion in the Case Unboxing Millionaire series. It's been redone and remade by other artists too, and I've seen firsthand what it's like to have remixes made for my own music. I've learned that I don't like remixes that only change the instrument. I can do that in the editor in a matter of seconds. That's boring. I've had a few sent to me like this and I haven't responded to them. I don't want to crush those musicians' hopes by saying I don't like it, but at the same time I have nothing good to say about them, other than that I appreciate that they like my song enough to have faithfully remade it note for note. What I do like though are the remixes that attempt something different. 3 or More Bones did an excellent trombone version. It wasn't just Atomic Amnesia with a trombone, although that would have been funny. It was Atomic Amnesia re-envisioned through the eyes of a trombone player, and I love that version of it. Since then, he has created 3 newer versions of Atomic Amnesia, and they each deviate further from my version of the song until the 4th one is completely unrecognisable. I prefer his earlier versions, but then as the maker of the original song, I'm going to say that, aren't I? But by remixing my song over and over again, it's as though he's found his own style of music through it, and I think that's wonderful. It's like when you make your own games. The first one you make is inevitably going to borrow heavily from the games you've already played, because what else do you base it on? But over the course of several sequels, you can establish your game into being its own unique thing. It ironically becomes more original the more sequels it gets. And that's how I see his Atomic Amnesia 4. This is very much his own creation, to the point where it isn't even Atomic Amnesia anymore. It isn't a sequel, it's just using the same name several times to track his musical development. I'll link to his songs in the description so you can check out the transformation. So yeah, as a listener of songs, I dislike remixes for them, but if I've made the original song, it turns out I really enjoy listening to remixes that other people have made for it, and I'm fascinated by the changes they make, and why they choose to make them. And I wanted in on the action. The other month, I made a video about reversing songs to see if I could come up with new ones from it. I chose Atomic Amnesia to be one of these because I felt it was the song of mine that most of you could relate to, and thus would be the one you'd be most interested in hearing how it played in reverse. But, I'll admit it now, it was also chosen to prove a point about how if you like the original then you'll resist changes made to it, even if you can hear that the result isn't necessarily any worse. I was trying to prove that deep down everyone's as ugly as I am when it comes to remixes. But I failed, because a lot of you said you kind of liked it in reverse, and wanted me to make it into a full song. So being the complete hypocrite that I am, even though I said I wouldn't finish it, I've gone and done exactly that, and have enjoyed every second of the process. I'll be releasing the song soon, once the novelty of it has worn off and I can hear it for what it is. It's hard to be objective when I'm currently so in love with it. At first glance, this new song is unrecognisable. But it sticks to the original instruments, and any new additions are still using the same basic tools that the original used. And if you play it in reverse and listen closely enough, you'll hear the tributes to the original. Like I said, I'll be releasing this as a whole song soon. But what to call it? I've joked about calling it but that will just get confusing. And it's doing a disservice to the fact that this has now become its own song. So as of now, it's called Atomic Amnesia 2020. Despite all I've learned, and all the ways I've been proven to be wrong, I still believe that songs can't get proper sequels. They should be celebrated for what they do differently, and anything they keep the same is merely the remnants of the springboard that was used to launch the new project in the first place. A tribute to what came before.